We have a lot of listings coming up, a lot of great listings, to be honest, and we already have some good listings on the market as well. And so today I wanted to spend some time talking about leveraging these listings, how we can turn one listing into 3 closed transactions. And really, when we have a listing, especially in this market, especially in this area, it's one of the biggest assets that we can possibly have. I would compare having a listing to having 5 Zillow leads or maybe 10 Zillow leads. The listings are on the standard goal. And it does so much for your name, for your personal brand, and for the company's brand, for future listings. And it also does so much for creating relationships with buyers. One of the best ways to meet future sellers and future buyers is at these open houses, or by circle prospecting, or by doing mailers, or by canvassing around the neighborhood. So today we're going to go over all those different things that you can do in order to leverage it, in order to get more. So if you're talking to any investor, what's the number one thing that investors all want?
Great deal.
Yeah, but what is this property right now? Right now, this property is an off-market property. So if you tell investors, I have an off-market duplex coming up, they're going to be immediately attracted to what you have to say. And that rings true for all of these listings, in fact, because if you're at your open houses and you say, hey, I have more listings coming, because we are a team and we operate as a team, you can leverage Kevin's listings, even though they're not your own. You say, our team has these listings coming up. If you give, and that can be a way you can extract contact information from people. Also, great things to talk about are aggressive pricing. So we talked about the one in Pebble Beach on Costado. It's going to be very aggressively priced. So that means it's going to probably go really quick. So people are going to want to know about it before it hits the market, because they're going to want to have enough time to make sure that all their ducks in a row, pre-qualification letter, all that good stuff. Last was the one on Austin, is a high watermark for the city of Pacific Grove. It's gonna be a really big deal for the sale to happen in this neighborhood. This neighborhood's never even really touched this price point, and it's very special because it has extreme ocean views, finishes that Pacific Grove doesn't really see, and it's right adjacent to Pebble Beach. So it really has more of a Pebble Beach feel to it than a Pacific Grove. But the address is still Pacific Grove. So this is gonna be something that everybody in that neighborhood is gonna be talking about when it happens. And they're probably gonna be, honestly, all the neighbors are gonna be scoffing. They're gonna be like, what? This neighborhood? Don't think so. That's a good thing to create conversation about, right? Because it's not what you expect, it's different. And that's what usually creates the most eyeballs and the most conversations. It's things that are different than what you expect. If you run in the mill house, it's a 3-1 in that neighborhood listed for 1-2. Everyone's like, yeah, me and everybody else. Nobody's really talking about that. So this is gonna be, all 3 of those are really great conversations.
All the neighbors are gonna come by to that one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And that really is what we're talking about today, is how to make your listings and your presentations at all time so that you want neighbors to come on. Because that's really the goal, is to get the neighbors in the house, conversating with you, seeing the type of work that we do on listings, meeting you, seeing the type of work that you do as an agent, growing a relationship with you, and then permission to continue to follow up with them is what you're looking for. All right, so first we're going to talk a little bit about circle prospecting. I'm going to share with everybody on Google Drive. I already shared it with those of you that are on the call, because I knew you guys were going to be on the call on the Zoom. And for the people in person, I'll share it with you as well. And so what this is a flow chart to do when you are doing circle dialing. So who here knows what circle dialing is? Can you give me a definition? Jen.
When you circle, meaning that you are essentially selling and telling everybody about the listing.
Exactly. So when you have a listing, everybody loves talking about it. The neighbors love talking about it because it affects their home value. Buyers who are interested in it love talking about it because they're interested in homes. We're in an extremely tight, low inventory market. So a house hitting the market these days is still a really big deal. We only have, what did we have one yesterday? 26 houses hit the market a week. Like, that's really low. It's only 26 houses to talk about a week. That's not very much. So there's a lot of opportunity for conversations, and it's a really big deal when something good does hit the market that's move-in ready and well priced. So when you're circle prospecting, you want to take advantage of that and create a lot of conversations around it. So the best times to do this are just listed, when it goes pending, / into contract, and then just sold. So when you're doing it on just listed, you did just like Jen said, you're going to circle prospect around that house that's just listed. And so you want to do at least 100 house radius, but you can do up to, we extract at least a 250 home list, and we do mailers off of that. But you can also get access to those lists to make dials, and then also you can use it for door knocking, so you already know who you're door knocking to. So you can get all this information on batchleads.io, which we went over last week. And if you want to be really efficient, you can upload it to the Mojo Sales Dialer and make those calls. Like I said, you can also canvas the neighbors, and a great way to do that with canvassing the neighbors is giving them a market update, because this home getting listed really affects them. Their home's value is going to change based upon what this home sells for, unless it sells for exactly what the comp say it should. but rarely does it sell for exactly what the comps say. It's typically gonna be within a couple percentage points. And then in some instances, especially lately, you see very high and very low, and it really throws off the market activity.
Yeah, out of town buyers throw outliers too, because they don't have the preconceived notions on the neighborhood and then the locals will. And after we're seeing the huge influx in the Bay Area, a huge influx from the Central Valley, a lot of cash buyers, we're not gonna be relying on the appraisal. They don't know this street is probably not considered as great as it was by the locals who say this street's not that awesome. They'll just say, and everything here is close to the beach as far as the Bay Area person is concerned.
Yeah.
Close to the beach could be a mile and a half. We're close to the beach. I'm in Central Valley. Or I'm in Central Valley.
Yeah.
Close to the beach, because I can drive there on my way to dinner, as opposed to a local will see there, no, I'm 4 blocks away. Like, I
Yeah.
still want to get in my car to get there.
And that's exactly it. These out of town buyers create these outliers. And so like Austin is going to be one of those scenarios where the local is gonna see the address and scoff. But somebody who's in San Jose, in Cupertino, in Los Gatos, they're gonna see it and be like, awesome, this is next door to Pebble Beach. $3 million is all they're asking for it, but they're gonna get something to steal. So they're gonna create these outliers that really affect the neighborhood. So like Austin, if you go around and tell the neighbors like, hey, when this sale sells, your home value is gonna increase significantly. Can I keep you up to date on what's gonna happen with it?
And if you go back and also pair that with, hey, we just did the same thing on Forest Hill Boulevard, what was it, a year ago?
Yeah.
8 months ago, where they purchased it for 1.2. The neighbors all thought we were crazy to list it up for 818. We sold it for 255.
Yeah.
In a matter of 2 weeks.
So you already have social proof to tell them about that we know that this is gonna take place in some capacity. It's not gonna be just complete listing that gets lost in the dust. And then as you're talking to people, I just wanted to give you what this acronym means, because I'm gonna reference it later. So the LP MAMA is just a little acronym to use when you're talking to people, just a little reminder. These are the things you want to get from them: are location, price, motivation, whether or not they have an agent, whether they're gonna be mortgage or cash, and then set that appointment. So your goal always is to set that appointment. Conversations and appointments. That's our job as real estate agents. Have conversations, set appointments. All right, so when you're using this flow chart, it's really simple, and you can have this in front of you when you're making these calls. So you say, hi, I'm Kyle. Is this Miguel?
Yes.
The reason I'm calling is because I'm a local realtor in Pacific Grove. So now I have relevant authority to them. Like automatically I click. Instead of saying I'm with Real Broker, the C Group, C2 Realty, because that doesn't mean anything to them. But Pacific Grove does. So their ears are going to turn on more so when you say their town. It's just listing one of your neighbors down the street. So now they really feel connected to you because you're on their street. Can I tell you what it listed for? Now, how easy of a question is that? You're not coming off as a salesperson trying to push anything. You're just offering to give them information, and information is, most people are going to be open to this. So if they say yes, then take that opportunity to share the specifics with them and show off your knowledge. You should already have all this information written next to you, ready to rattle off, but also you should have it memorized and internalized, because if it's internalized, you're going to say it the best. So share the specifics, and then once you do, ask them, would you care to know what your house is worth on the market? Now, this is the big key, because this is where you're to actually take going from information to actually trying to convert this person into a future nurture person that's going to be added to your database. If they say yes, then they're giving you the green light to start talking about it now. And if they do give you the green light, what you want to do is just actually take this opportunity now to start looking at values. So right there on the call. Now, a lot of people will tell you, okay, take this opportunity to set the appointment. But the problem with doing that on a circle prospect is they don't know you from anybody else. You could be in the Philippines calling them for all they know. So they don't, so the likelihood that they're gonna really set an appointment with you and stick to it. And so if you say, okay, can I come by on Saturday and say it's Tuesday? They're not gonna remember that. They don't know you from John. So take this opportunity to build more rapport and more time with them on the phone. So start looking at the comps in that neighborhood. And while you're looking at the comps, use the LP MAMA. So start asking them questions about their location. So where exactly is their home at on the street? And you can even maybe pull up their home on Zillow or Redfin, if it's something that's quick. Start asking them about, if you did move, where would you go? Just things that like get them talking while you're doing your searching, because you don't have to be doing you shouldn't be doing a lot of talking, they'll be doing the talking for you. And you also want to be gauging what the condition of their home is. So as I'm looking this up, just let me know on a 1 to 10, what would you rate your condition? Most people will probably say a 7 unless it's really nice, and you'll go from there. So once you give them that value, so say you look it up and you say, okay, you're adjacent to Austin Street, but not with the ocean view. So it looks like your home value would be about 1.6. then ask them how they feel about that. Does that seem a little bit high or a little bit low? And that's going back to the same training we had last week. So when we're giving people values, we don't want to just give it to them, we want to know how they're responding to it, because that's going to tell you if there's motivation behind it. And if they think it's high, then you know that they're probably going to be more likely to be interested in selling. And if they think it's low, then you can build more value around that, understand, and maybe that's an opportunity for you to come check out the house and give them a realistic look. So if they do say no, or so after they do that, you want to then get permission to continue to follow up with them. So this is the most important part, because this is how you can start nurturing and databasing people. So the last thing that I could offer is a free monthly market update. It's an email that would come once a month showing the houses for sale in your neighborhood. This is a very low sale. This is a very low thing for them to commit to. So most people are going to say yes. You can get their contact information, put them into the CRM, start sending them market updates, and continue nurturing them. Now, if they did say no in the beginning, still throw that last ditch effort. You don't know this person. Alyssa and I were just talking about this earlier. It's almost easier when you're talking to a person that you've never met before on a cold call, because if you upset them or they get mad and yell at you, you've never met this person before. You don't have to see them again. What's one last effort to try to make this work? So even if they say no, would you care to know what your home is worth on the market? If they still say no, still try to get them to agree to market updates. And if they don't, that's okay. They probably already hung up on you. They probably didn't make that third question, but hey, nothing is lost there. Like you don't diminish as a person. You didn't ruin any relationships with people you already know. The embarrassment level should be very low for you. So always go for more, not for less on these calls.
And nothing's to say that just because they don't want it then, doesn't mean they won't show up to one of your open houses 2 weeks later. Remember the friendly demeanor of the person they talked to.
Yep, and thank you for saying that, because you just reminded me. So then, after you talk to this person, if you had a positive experience with them, or you saw there's a window of opportunity, what you should also do is send them a handwritten thank you note with your business card included. Because now they'll be able to we all put our faces on our business cards with our contact information. And now they have your information, even if you didn't get theirs. And then they have your face, they know what your face looks like. So now when you go canvass around the neighborhood, they might notice you, or if they come to that open house, they'll notice you there. Like Kevin said, if you were had a friendly demeanor and were very helpful, they're gonna have a positive, they're gonna remember you in a positive light.
I circle prospect on a house on, where was it? In Toro, and I was doing this, and I got on the phone with this lady for probably like 20 minutes. I said, hey, I wanna let you know, I have an open house, whatever. Come by, even if you're not interested. She's in my Sierra still right now. We talk like once every 6 months. And she came to my open house and she just was like, oh, I had to come by and just meet you because of the conversation that we had. So it does work. And she's always, oh, hey, Jen, how are you? You know, I'm still not interested in selling, but I feel like I have that in with her too.
And they have opportunity for referrals, or if she hears something else and come make the neighborhood, she might call you. So it's a perfect example of things to go. So they'll come and visit you and have a very positive experience with you.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. So also, what type of homes can you do this with? So obviously, when you have your own listing, you should be doing this insanely no matter what, like to the max if it's your own listing, because you are the face of that property. You become like the representation of that property, and you have the most ability to leverage it. But if you don't have a listing, you can still leverage other people's listings. So you don't have to say, I just listed. You say there was a house that was just listed. Don't shy away from it just because it's not your listing. Anything that seems interesting that hits the MLS, start calling around it. It's a huge opportunity. So on the just sold side, just very similar. So I won't go through the whole thing, but to me, just sold is the biggest opportunity, because that's when you have a story about, hey, your home value's actually been affected now. When it's just listed, you're saying it's going to be affected and you're asking permission to continue to follow up. But it's just sold, it's like, hey, this just affected you. Do you want to know how it did? So people are going to be more likely to want to hear that.
Great opportunity for that is going to be coming on 774 Belden, because we're setting a record in that new Monterey neighborhood. On both a duplex on the Monterey Peninsula and for single family homes within that neighborhood.
Yeah. So those are huge things to talk about. Like when you set a record, that is an amazing thing to have a story about.
Multiple offers.
Multiple offers, yeah.
That one closes on May 24th.
So I'm glad you brought up multiple offers, because this is what this next one is. Anytime you have multiple offers, even if it's not your own buyer, you want to be able to leverage those multiple buyers, because what's the news to the neighbors? Hey, one person didn't want this neighborhood, 5 people want it, and only one person got it. So that means there's still 4 people who are very interested in living in your neighborhood that didn't successfully convert. Would you entertain any conversations from them? So I got this letter from one of the teams that we masterminded with down in Orange County. And so he actually foot prospects around any listing that they have that has multiple offers, or even if they have an offer that they don't accept, like the Watson, we just had that offer that didn't end up coming through, but it was still full ask. It was still a solid offer. This is a good thing for you to maybe use for your open house this weekend.
Okay.
So this letter basically makes them know, hey, this is real people, not robots, and they actually want to buy their home. And then give them the details. This person wrote an offer at the house at 123 Main Street. Their offer was over list price. They offered over the appraised value because you can't tell exactly, you shouldn't say exactly what they offered. So you should use the reference points basically. They're willing to not ask for significant repairs. They have on-time guarantee. If they were cash, say that, things like that. So give them details because then people know it's real. One of the most common realtor tricks to get listings or to get opportunities is to bait people with, hey, I have a buyer. And so typically when you get a letter that says like, hey, I have a buyer, but there's no details about it, you're like, oh yeah, I get one of these like every Tuesday, and you throw it in the trash. But then when you get this one, it says, I have a real buyer, and they wrote an offer on this house, and it's just like yours, and this is what they did, then it's more real, and it's not a little bait switch situation. So it goes through the whole thing. So this is a great letter. I actually shared it it's in that Google Drive. So you guys can take this and edit it and put in information here, and it's something you can go around to neighbors with. If you get an offer or multiple offers on a property, or somebody on the team does, or you hear of an agent that does, if you hear about a house in Seaside that just got multiple offers, don't be afraid to go do this, something similar to this scenario with it, and create a story around what just happened to the neighbors, because people will want to talk about it. Okay, so now talking about maximum exposure for when you do have a new listing. So when you have a new listing coming up, when you have it coming soon, people are very interested on what's not on the market yet. So this is one of the biggest assets we have in our marketing is off-market properties, because we know about it and nobody else does. No other agent they go to has any knowledge of what's going on with this property, and no consumer who's using Zillow or Redfin has any idea. So if you announce it on social media with very little details, people are going to be called to action to find out more. So don't tell them the address, don't tell them the exact specs, don't tell them the exact price in your post, but maybe have a little video of just the front yard, or something that's very attractive in the home, something that you know is going to draw people in. If it's a multifamily, talk about cash flow. Think about who your actual buyers for this property, and talk about the things that they're going to be most interested in. For awesome, talk about the ocean views, things like that. If we know people who are going to pay the most amount of money, what are they going to be looking for? What's the highest and best use? And then also, if you're doing these type of posts and they're not for your own listing, because you definitely should do these for any listing that you know of coming up, make sure you credit the listing agent. It's super important. We've been having problems with other brokerages with this recently. So please make sure you credit the listing agent. It's a very good thing to do. Also, it's like a very friendly agent thing to do, to be promoted. If you're going to be leveraging somebody else's listing, give them credit for it. So whether that be on the team or with a different brokerage. Next is mailing campaign. So earlier we were talking about calling and door knocking around prospects. You can also do a mailer to the neighbors, letting them know the stats, and then prompt them for more information. So you can say, hey, we have this property coming soon. Do you want to pick your neighbor? Do you know anybody who's looking to get into the neighborhood? And things like that. So things that are going to draw them out of the woods to want to get more information from you. Next is 4x10. So this goes with the circle prospecting. So 4x10 you want to do before, honestly, you want to do this before every open house. And so when you go into open houses, you don't want to only just show up the day of and hope people show up. You want to do some pre-work, because this is a huge opportunity for you to get people added to your database. And most people who are visiting open houses that are real buyers are looking to buy in the next few weeks. Now, they don't always have the opportunity to, but the people who are actually hunting are looking to buy now. So canvas 10 houses to the left, 10 to the right, across the street and behind, and invite them all to your open house. You're going to be there. You're going to be presenting the property. You're going to have refreshments or some type of event going on there. Make sure people are coming and seeing what you have going on. These things are your biggest asset. And then last is open house. So that's what the last we're going to spend the rest of the time talking about is open housing. Open houses are such a huge opportunity. And with all these huge listings coming up, we're going to have a lot of at-bats for open houses to meet a lot of people, make a lot of contacts, and convert a lot of buyers and sellers. So when you're doing an open house, you want to look at it in 3 steps. You have a pre-step, and a post. So what are the big stuff, Jen, we do for a pre-listing if it's going to be like a sip?
Wait, what?
If we're going to do a sip, what are some of the big stuff we're going to do for an open house?
Bartender. Are you talking about what we do as agents or what like the event is?
Both.
Okay.
Give us a preview, yeah.
Okay. So we hire a bartender, we get somebody to do music. We also do.
And why do we do a bartender?
Oh, you have to do a bartender because we're inviting people from the public. So you have to have a bartender because we're not legally allowed to, so. And then, okay, so anyway, so we do all that. And then once we have all of that knocked down, we pick a date. And then we go to the Circle Prospect and we invite everybody in the neighborhood to come to it. We also put out mailers and we promote it on Instagram and all of that. And am I forgetting anything, guys?
But other clients.
Oh, we invite our clients to show them that we are what we can do for them.
It's awesome, so it's like a big, it's a big party, right? It's a big event. It's a huge event, it's a lot of fun, a lot of people come, the neighbors talk a lot about it and things like that. So that is more of a production, but why can't we have a party every time? Why shouldn't we make our open houses something that people want to visit every single time? And you have buyers and sellers in your database that you can be inviting these things along with the neighbors. So you don't have to have it catered and you don't have to have a bartender, but you can have some snacks and some waters or iced teas there. If you are serving alcohol, you do have to have a liquor license, and that's why we do the bartender. You have to have a liquor license. Stop at that. You're gonna invite people, so door knock. There's no reason, only because we're having a huge event, you can still door knock and invite people to your 2-hour normal open house so they can come and see it. Still make it a party, still make it fun, still make it something that people want to go to. And then do all the things, email prospects, run Facebook ads, invite on Instagram, promote on Nextdoor and all the different portals, and then put out a ton of signs. So this list said 30 signs, but honestly, put out 10, make that extra effort to put out a lot of signs. So Jen, why do we do all that effort for the, what's our goal with that?
There's different motives, but you obviously wanted to get other buyers.
Yeah.
And also sell the house for the highest dollar and then get potential listings.
Yeah, so get buyers, do we wanna do that at other normal open houses in our city too?
Oh, how, you go to open houses to get buyers?
Do we wanna sell it for the highest price at other open houses?
Yeah,
And do we wanna try to land other sellers as well at other open houses, not Cincy?
definitely.
So let's make the effort every time. Every single time for every single open house you have isn't a big opportunity for you. It's for this time where you're gonna be on center stage, you're able to showcase your abilities, and you're able to meet new people. And not everyone's gonna be and not every open house is gonna be a massive success, but all it takes is one contact at that property for it to be a huge success for you. So don't downplay just the normal open house.
Jen, how many active buyers do you have from open houses right now that are actively looking? 4, 3?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a solid pipeline for you, so.
It is one of the best places to land.
and then also I feel that getting buyers from open houses because they've met you, you develop that relationship, so you're able to like dance onto them more because it's, oh, we met, we're friends, and so then they're like.
That is the predictive.
Easier to
Yeah,
create the relationship because the relationship's already started because you've had that face-to-face interaction.
that's awesome. Anaconda those buyers.
Yeah.
So when you're anacondaing those buyers, here's some ways to do it. So first advice is stand at the front door. So if you're at the front door, you're able to meet the most amount of people. And later I'm gonna have some of the agents on the team share some of their strategies, but you'll hear a recurring theme of they like to let the people go tour themselves, and then that way they can meet them back at the front door to see what they thought. So if you're at the front door, you're gonna see people when they're coming in, and you also gonna see them when they're leaving. So you have the most opportunities for exposure if you stand at the front door. Second is an obvious one, but maybe not. Be happy to see people as they arrive. So like, make people feel good.
Sorry, stand is even a really good thing to say too, because some people, like, have you ever seen an agent just sit down at an open house?
Yeah.
Like, standing up and welcoming somebody is so much better than just like sitting on a couch that's next to the front.
So don't even be there at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you're gonna have a poor representation of yourself and a poor representation of the property. So don't, like I said, just don't go. If you're not happy to be there, don't go. And be happy when you see people arrive. If you're not happy to see people arrive, once again, don't be there. You're holding this open house for yourself, to promote your own business and to promote the listing that you have a contract for. So be happy as people arrive and make them feel very welcome right away. Create a very emotional, happy experience for them right at the onset. Next is only talk to one person at a time. So this was one challenge I always have with open houses because especially with a flood of people, it always feels like they always come at once, right? Of course, you guys all show at the exact same time, but still dedicate your time to that one person, because if you try to talk to too many people at once, you're gonna end up talking to nobody. You're gonna have no meaningful conversations. So engage with one person and talk to them until you are able to identify whether or not they're a contact that you're gonna continue with. If they're not, then just give them permission to show themselves around the house and then start with the next person. But also, if you're showcasing your knowledge to one person, other people that are walking by are gonna hear that, you're gonna start seeing them waiting to talk to you. Especially if you're showing off really well, if you're showing your knowledge around the home, or other comps that are just sold or just listed, they're gonna also want to extract that knowledge from you. Kevin does a great job of this, if you've ever seen him in the open house. He puts on a little performance for it, and that's what you should do. Next, the number one goal is to set at an open house, is to set a rock solid appointment directly after. So with these, you don't want to allow the time for things to expire. You don't want them to go to the next open house and make that connection with the next person. You want to set it for right there. And Andy C, he's out of Saratoga. I got this line from him. He is a huge open houser. He sells, but his team sells 500 million a year. He personally still spends 40 hours a week, or excuse me, 40 hours a month doing open houses. He personally does. He believes in it, really, he believes in it a lot. And so he does a lot of training around it. And so his favorite line for setting a rock solid appointment directly after is, I don't mind doing this after the open house. And then after the open house, what can you do? I can meet you at your home and give you a realistic view of what the home is worth. I don't mind doing this after this appointment, after this open house, I can meet you at that property at 123 Main Street. So you can also see that one and compare and contrast the two different homes. So it really takes people's guard down because you don't mind doing this, and then sets it for directly afterwards. Yeah. Okay, always sell the house you are in first. So we are there to sell the house. We do have a fiduciary responsibility to that home. Unless it's an agent who's not part of our brokerage, then it's still within our brokerage, we still have fiduciary responsibility. So you can't like right away be like, hey, you should have to check out this other one before they even had a chance to see this home. We do have a responsibility to the sellers of this home to give the best effort to sell that home. And honestly, it's your quickest conversion. Austin, what's the easiest sale you've ever done?
Cold Meadows.
What happened?
They wanted to buy the house, came in, they wanted to buy.
Not much conversion was required. It was pretty much on the spot. They fell in love with the home.
Yeah, they were really hesitant about it first.
Yeah.
And but we swapped information and they called me up and wanted to offer on it.
That's amazing. So that's gonna be your least amount of resistance, is to actually offer on that exact home. It's gonna be your quickest point to success. And a great way to find out is to say, when you're standing at the front door, you're getting people as they're leaving, so before they leave, so what do you think? Would you like to review the disclosures? So it's easier, it's a little softer than, hey, you wanna write an offer? Because they just saw the home, so you don't wanna like assume they wanna get married right away, right? You wanna review disclosures, that's like you wanna go on a date. And if they say yes, then say, perfect, let's set a time that we can, I don't mind doing this. Quickly after this, we can meet and I can go over the disclosures with you. So now you're gonna review the disclosures with them, not they're gonna review them on their own, and now you have an appointment directly afterwards. Okay, next is one of my favorite ones, and I think one of the most important things for doing open house is knowing your comps on the market. So beforehand, know the things that are listed, go visit them, know them intimately. And if you know them intimately, you can talk about them educatedly and you can give people that information that they wouldn't have unless they went and saw it themselves. Not everybody has a Supra, so not everybody can get into houses like you can. So utilize that advantage you have. So know these comps on the market, and that when people say, hey, this seems a little, or this Austin property seems a little high, Kevin's gonna already have visited all the other comps that are even in relation. He's even gonna visit the Pebble Beach ones that are in relation, because he's gonna know what's in that price point that they have in front of it. So he's gonna know why this one's better than those other ones, and he's gonna know which ones that are actually better. So if they say, I like this one better, yeah, I understand, the views are better at that one. And then they're gonna be like, oh, wow, well, this guy's really educated, and he's more of a consultant, not selling me.
I'll give you an example when we sold 7,000 for 4.1. Me and Melissa are sitting at the open house. This is the first open house since COVID, like been allowed. We're all kind of rusty. And the guy that actually bought it, we're sitting the three of us and his family down in the living room. And he said, what else should I look at? And I was rusty at the time. I forgot to ask him if he had another agent. So I told him, I said, hey, go check out this one over on Rhonda in Pebble Beach. You gotta see it's yada, yada, yada. If you're looking for this big property, big, expansive. Well, he says, okay, I'm gonna tell my agent to do that. I was like, all right, kind of step. He went, he looked at it, and they called us out when leaving that property. Like, this is the other one that I need to see, and I like yours better. Let's do it. They had an offer like immediately thereafter. So it's good idea to know what else is out there. A lot of the times people will try to neg you too. They're like, well, have you seen the one down there? Oh, absolutely, I did. I couldn't stand the noise from the traffic. It's on a super busy street. So, oh, I haven't actually seen it. Yeah, beautiful pictures, not a great property. No, and give real feedback, like, yeah, that one's great, I think it's gonna have multiple offer situation, or no, it's, I didn't like it for this reason. You can give real honest feedback. You don't have to have an agenda with that, but it's, you know what you're talking about.
That's great. And so you're talking about that. And so that buyer came in, you showed off your knowledge, you gave him really good advice on what other properties to look at. And then what ended up happening with that buyer later in time?
Oh, he bought other things for me, yeah.
He's bought other things with Kevin after that time. So he already had an agent who's committed to with that. But because Kevin knew his stuff and demonstrated so much value in the initial meeting, that buyer came back to him. So that's the power of knowing your comps and knowing the market and knowing the neighborhood and being either whether you're from the area or you've studied it and become to love it. And knowing those type of things and leveraging them is so important. So I just handed around this sheet for some sample scripts. And we'll go over these in a little bit, but it just basically gives you some things that you can open up the conversation with and different ways you can take it with the conversation, kind of the same as a flow chart. And then what the common objections are and how you can handle them. So we will go over this towards the end. I had it on the slide, so I handed it out now. Post. So after it's over, you want to shoot, you can do BombBomb or just direct text messages. And just like Soraya, I know you love BombBomb. This is a great time to use it. BombBomb is basically a video messaging app to send people video text messages, but you can just do it directly in your text message apps. And then there's also, you can do it on Loom, you can friend them on Marco Polo, any of those things, or you can friend them on Instagram and send them a video on Instagram. That'd be awesome too. Also send them through the CRM and then follow up on hotter opportunities immediately. So if you had somebody who you know is a hot opportunity, follow them immediately. Do not let it wait till Monday. If you wait till Monday, they could already have something in contract.
You follow up with them on the way home.
On the way home. Do not wait. And then the people who were more nurturers, still follow them on Monday.
Yeah.
Do not waste time. If you let it pass Monday, they are gonna forget you.
I would say do it that evening, you're back to your computer.
Yeah, do not let time elapse. And you will notice such a huge difference. And then you're doing all this pre-work, you're doing all this work at the open house. Take that extra half hour to make sure you make contact with everybody. It makes a tremendous difference. And then make sure you add them all to your database. This is super important because if you just write them on a sheet of paper, leave them in your car, you clean it, you forget it's there, it gets thrown away, boom, all your contacts lost, all that work you just put in, gone. Make sure they're in your CRM so you can create a follow-up plan with them. All right, so now I wanted to share a couple open house hacks. So does anybody here or on the call have any open house hacks that they have that they want to share? I'll give mine first. All right, so one of my favorite things I used to do when I used to do open houses was I would put up a sign that says I have more properties coming available in this neighborhood. Write down your information if you want to hear about them. And people would write down their information left and right. So I do a sign-in sheet at the front because I wasn't being a salesperson trying to get them to check in. I was lead capturing them when they're in the house. So I would put like in the kitchen or in a hallway on something so that it wasn't like directly in their face, but I was still capturing it. So I would get tons of contacts from that. One time at a house in Pacific Grove, I had that sheet. I entered everybody into the database from it. The guy started getting market updates from that, and he ended up buying a house with us. All that happened was I had that sign up, he wrote down information, and then he started getting drips. All that happened, and he just started emailing. He started replying to the drips, like this one, but I don't like that one. Then he ended up buying a house like what, 2 or 3 months later. It was really quickly. My other favorite trick is midweek open houses. So midweek open houses, you shouldn't expect the kind of traffic that you're gonna get on a weekend one. But what is great, you might only get 3 people to come in, but it's 3 opportunities that you wouldn't have otherwise had. So what you should do is when we're agents, we're on the go. We have our cell phone, we have our laptops. So go set up an open house at a listing in the middle of the week, put out your signs and get those 3 people. And while you're waiting for people to come in, just be making dials in our neighborhood. So if you're going to do the circle dialing, do it from the house. Then like when people start saying things about the house, like you're sitting over there. They might even say something, you're like, hey, I'm actually in the neighborhood now, I can come by. Low likelihood of it happening, but you're ready if it is.
Haven't you done that before, Austin?
Midweek?
Like dial during an open?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we do that Ocean View all the time.
Ocean View is a great one for that.
Yeah.
Ride the bike
Just
path.
go any day of the week there. Yeah.
Utilize it. It's a really great tool because you're gonna be making these dials anyways. You might as well be sitting in there waiting for the home, waiting. The buyer could walk in.
Any of you guys that know J.R. Roush, he became the mayor of Pacific Grove Listings and Selling because he would it's like he didn't have an office, he would just choose one of his listings that day and set up his office in that listing, and he'd leave signs all over town. So you drive all over PG on any given day, and there was 5 JR signs, so everyone just sunk into their head like, man, this guy's busy, he's a hustler. He wanted to go in and talk to him, he knew exactly where it was, and you could come see that house, he crushed it.
I don't do that.
It's free billboards, guys. Like you can't, in our town, you legally can't put billboards up. But we can, as real estate agents, do these signs. Like,
Can't really do open house signs in Carmel.
Not in Carmel by the Sea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Carmel by the Sea proper, you're only allowed to do one, they'll take them away from you if you do more. But if you're in the county, you can, but don't put signs in the downtown area, basically. Any other hacks you guys want, anybody have any other hacks you want to share?
I would say really showing personality and being bold is one of the most important things. So like, you come in and you're dry and you're just a human lockbox, people are gonna forget you. They're gonna walk through this house, if the chances are they're open house and they'll see 4 or 5 properties and you're just gonna blend right in. But if you take some risks and be unique and maybe show some sense of humor, be a little animated, like something to stand out in the crowd, it disarms people and then they remember you a little bit more. But then after you do that, then you can really hit them with your knowledge, your understanding, hey, this is my background, this is why I'm good, this is what I know. But if you're on the front end, I literally one time got a client, I said, are you working with a realtor yet? She's, no, I'm still looking for it. And I said, it just turns out I'm a realtor. And like, I sold her house 2 weeks later. Like, just being goofy,
It's memorable, right?
can work a lot.
Yeah, so like Austin, like you could do something gimmicky with your wine too, like you could have the wine be paired with it, and also an iPad with it playing on loop or something like that. Be like, hey, I paired a wine with this home, you wanna try it? Something that's extremely memorable, that is out of the norm.
That's gold too.
You're gonna create a moment for people coming.
You can't give wine out.
No, like it would be
Yes, I
like
didn't advise that.
the
but
video.
I can't post this video now.
So I think one of the biggest things for me is with open houses is making them understand right when they walk in that I'm not a door opener, a human door opener, and
Yeah.
they are going to talk to me and I'm gonna be so human to them by the time they leave. It doesn't always work. Like sometimes I'm literally still like making jokes as they're like walking out the door and I'm like, but most of the time it does work. So the second they come in, I'm like, I think that works for most people. I'm not really typically going to be like, hi, take a look around and then I'll talk to you. I'm probably talking to them in the beginning, but it just is what works and feels natural for me.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's too much, but I'm going to attach myself to them with some theme in common, whether it is that the go-to that I'm sure everyone gets sick of hearing is like that if they have kids, like that's an easy go-to for me.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if they have a cat, it happens, they're left-handed, I don't know, but it's like kind of joking but serious. I wanna know what they do and I'm going to find something from the first 2 sentences that like I can say something about myself and then boom, I'm a human. And they cannot dismiss me, so I think that's the biggest thing.
create that
Yeah,
likability, so
okay.
important, so important. All right, so now we're gonna talk a little bit about our script, so we don't have quite enough time to role play today, so we're gonna just talk through some of them, so I will go through first the script that I shared, and I shared it with you guys on Google Drive. This script, how it goes is when they first come in, you say, are you, and I included a YouTube link for actually where I got it from. So are you looking at open houses today, or do you live in the neighborhood? So right off the bat, you can know if they're a buyer or a seller. Like, who are you talking to, and what are they gonna be interested in? Are they gonna be interested in buying, or are they interested in selling? And if they live in the neighborhood, you can ask them now if they're thinking about selling, or if they're just looking for decorative. So you're kind of being funny, to Kevin's point, like that's being memorable, and you're kind of making a jab, but also you're finding out quick if they think about selling. You also want to know if they received your marketing, so did you see the listing online, or did you see my signs? Because if you saw it online, you know that they're looking, your marketing's working, and if they saw it online, if they looked on like Redfin or Zillow, your listing videos on there. So they might even watch your listing video. They might have gone on your YouTube channel, and they might have gone onto your Instagram from your YouTube channel and stuff like that. So they could have gone deep on you. So by asking this, you can find out more. And then you can get them to look around and come back to see how it compares to yours. Because ultimately you want to talk about how this value of this home compares to the value of their home. So you're going to put it in their mind in the beginning to tell them how it compares on a physical level without saying, hey, I'm joining to give you the value of your house. If they're looking at open houses, okay, great. So you see the signs, that's what I just mentioned. And then same thing to look around and just always be getting feedback. And that's setting up your conversation. So that's why you're standing by their front door. You want to give them a reason why they're going to stop by you, because most people are going to want to just skip by unless they have some level of interest. They're going to try to want to get out without trying to talk to you again. So if you give them a reason why they need to stop back by to give you the feedback, because your seller really requires it, and they're going to stop by. And then these are some of the kind of the common objections that you'll run into. So like, we're just casually looking, this isn't my price point, too much work, waiting for interest rates to cool off. That's what we're hearing a lot in the market now, waiting for prices to come down, our interest rates cool. Kids to graduate, really common in our area because we're a huge retirement community. So people a lot of times are looking 3 years ahead. Sally's a freshman in Sacramento, so they're looking now for when they're going to retire in 3 years. And then working with an agent, agent's my friend, Find out more. That's gonna be a defense mechanism for people. People are gonna say, I have an agent, so you leave them alone, because they've learned to open houses, that's what happens. So dig deeper, how's the service, who you working with, have you seen a lot of homes, things like that. Because a lot of times they're just saying that to get rid of you. Jen, Kevin, Austin, you guys got any other scripts that you guys like to use? Especially opening stuff, things you say directly to opening that really engage the prospect into getting more information from them.
Yeah, so when I welcome in clients, if the house is like really cool. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you're here. This is such a treat. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes.
So I'm so happy that you're here too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's my biggest stuff. And that one always gets, oh, I'm so excited to see it too. And then they go,
To your point on the subjection, a lot of the time, like they'll come in and they'll say, like, this, I, this, oh, what exactly are you looking for? I want, cause that's a question that I love and I go to a lot because it really kind of hammers it in. Are you just happen to be driving by the sign or are you really looking for, oh, you know, I know this is a $3 million house, I'm really looking for something. Perfect, what areas are you looking? Are you specifically looking on the pencil? You give them an out, like if they throw anything negative at you and you say, what are you looking for? Get on with your bad stuff, like, what, I'm calling you out right now. I don't like this, what do you like? And then it has a little opportunity to carry that on, more conversation.
That's a great one.
Towards the end, things I like to dangle is, hey, I have some off-market properties coming up. Is that something that I think would be a good fit for you, depending on what information you're able to gather?
Yeah.
Even if you don't actually have one, yeah, if I can get you into tour early, is that something you'd be interested in? We will get their contact information, or if you have somebody that's just looking for fun, that's not actually looking for something, say, hey, if I hear about a rental property coming up, that's a great deal. Is that something that you might be interested in? Because people always want to, you know, landlords, passive income.
Oh,
Definitely.
one other one, I absolutely hate business cards because I think that's just giving them a free pass to throw away your
They
information.
never call you back.
So I do not bring business cards with me and I refuse to give them away at open houses. Instead, I'll be like, well, if you'd like to review the disclosures, what's your email, what's the best number to reach you? Oh, no, this is just the information about the property. I make them give me their information. I do not give them my business card to go throw in the trash can.
They never had a call back from one. So then, so now it's just like, oh, I don't have cards, I'll tell you what, you give me your information, you just tell them.
Yeah,
Just pull out your phone, hey, I'll text you right now,
yeah.
and then you'll have my information, you don't need a business card.
Most people are not gonna be like, no, I don't wanna give you that, some people will.
Oh, I won't give you 100% of the shot you don't take, right?
Yeah.
ask me if it's like a runaround, oh, no, I don't know. And then you keep talking to them, ask again, because then it usually, then they're like, oh, this is off. So then they'll give it to me after, because I'm like, okay, yeah, like, why don't we give each other information? And then they're like, oh, and then we'll move tangent off, and then, so can I have the information so I can contact you? And then they're like, oh, shit.
Awkward pause waiting for you to like back away and you just sit there and enjoy that awkward pause.
Push more,